David Freeman, a 12-year-old kid, lives in Florida with his parents and younger brother. On July 4th, he is dispatched to get his brother from their friend's residence. David walks through the woods and falls into a gully, knocking himself out. When he awakens, it feels like just seconds later, he returns to his house, only to find another family living within. After examining their computer, the local authorities discover that David has been officially proclaimed deceased. David is subsequently escorted to another residence, where he sees his family, all of whom have grown older. David slips out and awakens in a hospital, where he discovers that 8 years have passed. Mental tests are performed at the hospital to determine what happened to David, revealing erratic brain patterns and even a bizarre item. This piques the interest of certain NASA scientists, who have identified and are storing a spaceship extremely identical to the one revealed in David's brain patterns. They believe David may have the key to unlocking the ship, despite their inability to enter it. Dr. Faraday, the team's leader at NASA, visits with David and his family and convinces them that he can assist them answer their doubts about David's abduction. David is brought to a special room at NASA that is tightly watched, where he befriends an intern named Carolyn, who visits him on a daily basis with a mechanical assistant called RLF, Robotic Assisted Living Facilitator. David learns about what has been going on in the world during the previous 8 years from her, as he is saddened to find that his favorite show, Starsky and Hutch, has been discontinued, and is interested by music videos. The scientists do several sets of tests on David's brain. The findings include extraterrestrial star charts and other data. David gets stunned while using their equipment when his brain transmits electrical impulses to the NASA computer, answering questions he has no way of understanding. The knowledge in David's brain, together with the star charts, shows the scientists that he has visited the planet Fallon. The experts believe that because David traveled at the speed of light to and from Fallon, he was able to return 8 years later without having aged. David flees the room, upset by the entire situation. Carolyn then enters and informs David that she has overheard NASA intending to detain him for an extended period of time. David instructs Carolyn to inform his parents, which she gladly does. The next day, David is summoned by weird voices. While David is listening, the RLF robot enters the room, and the service robot transports him to the hangar with the spaceship. As David gets closer, the spaceship opens up and some steps appear. Going inside, David encounters the ship's pilot, who informs him that the star charts he requires to fulfill his mission are stored in his memory. David and the spacecraft escape NASA, but Dr. Faraday and his soldiers are fast to attempt and capture them. David and the ship's pilot hold a conversation a long distance away. The pilot reveals that he has been tasked with collecting samples from several worlds. David was selected from Earth. Because humans do not use their entire brain, the ship's pilot chose to fill the extra space with star charts, but the experiment was a failure because the knowledge leaked. The spacecraft was unable to return David to the precise period he came from due to the fragility of human beings, which explains why David is now in 1986. After returning David to Earth, the ship collided with some power lines, erasing its star charts. David's intellect is the ship's last hope of recovering the missing charts and returning to Fallon. The alien spaceship then makes a bargain with David. If he gives him the star charts, the ship would transport him home. When the spacecraft describes itself to David as a Trimartian drone ship, David chooses to give the ship's computer the moniker Max. Dr. Faraday is informed that the last person to see David before he left his room was Carolyn, who has now departed the facility. NASA investigators trace her back to David's family's house, where she tells them about David fleeing the facility in the spaceship. Carolyn is brought to NASA for interrogation, and David's family is kept in their home since it is expected that David would attempt to return to them. To avoid being seen, the ship has sunk into the sea. David discovers numerous additional alien species that Max has acquired as it prepares for the mind transfer to obtain the star charts. Max promises that once David is returned, he will restore them to their own time and worlds, with the exception of one called a Pupmer, whose planet was destroyed. David rapidly develops feelings for the small creature. When Max is ready, he scans David's brain for the star charts, only to discover that he has also scanned in some of David's personality. This offers Max a better understanding of human personality. Eventually, the ship arrives in Florida, where David is able to contact his family. When David calls his brother, he admits that he has no idea where his family's new home is, but his brother tells him that he would assist him in finding it. Meanwhile, NASA has been watching David and Max's movement via radar and, believing he is on his way home, has dispatched trucks to intercept the spacecraft and David. When his brother lets off fireworks on top of their house as night falls, David is able to locate it. As the spacecraft lands down, Dr. Faraday comes and attempts to lure David and his parents away from the ship. Instead of exiting the spacecraft, David returns inside and informs Max to fly away. David explains that he can't stay in 1986 since he'll be a guinea pig for NASA for the rest of his life. Max emphasizes once more that returning David to 1978 is dangerous, and he might be vaporized. David, on the other hand, is ready to take that chance. Max then runs through space and time, saying his farewell. David awakens moments later in the same ravine. As he walks home, he hears his father yelling from a nearby port, and David smiles as he realizes Max accomplished it, and he is now back in 1978. David greets each member of his family, and as the family departs on their boat, we notice that the small Pupmer has stowed away in David's backpack, and Max can be seen soaring overhead, as David is relieved to be back home, and the story ends. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.